Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot, and welcome to our second attempt of flying the Boeing 737 MAX in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. The last attempt did go rather southbound, and today we are not just gonna try a normal flight, but we'll also incorporate a couple of strategies where we are going to try and mitigate against the issues that have happened. We'll talk about those along the go as we are slowly getting there. So for the time being, let's go ahead and start with our walk around. So we are in Aerosoft's Nuremberg airport, which is one of the really good looking airports in my opinion. And it does run pretty well in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Couple small issues there, like a little bit of grass growing through the aprons every now and then, but apart from that, it does run fairly fine. Alright then, let's go ahead and start over here at the engines by removing the engine covers, and then we can move forward, remove the static port covers, and last but not least, the chocks. That click spot doesn't do anything. Interesting. Okay, well, those chocks don't seem to want to remove themselves. Let's see if we can try that anywhere over here. Yeah, over here we can remove them. Interesting that it only seems to work on the left main gear, not on the nose wheel. Even though there is a click spot there, but well, that's probably going to be a bug then. Alright, let's head over into the... Wait a moment, there's one more. Definitely want to remove that, otherwise we will definitely find ourselves in an interesting scenario. So, on the other hand side, the pitot covers are all removed, and now our aircraft looks ready to fly. So join me in the cockpit of the 737 MAX. Let's go ahead and take a seat over here, and we'll start with the aircraft's power up. So the battery can come on, the external power can come on, and with that our aircraft does start to power up. Now, something that a couple of you told me in regards to some of the black screens we have here, such as the radio staying black or the cabin pressure gauges staying black, apparently they're bounded to the panel light button, some of you told me. So if we turn this all the way up, only then the lights do become visible. That's of course not very realistic. In the real world, the new or the panel on the overhead is not bound to the brightness switches at all, and the panels on the pedestal are partially bound to them. What does that mean? Well, over here, if I do start turning those up, they will eventually become visible down here. But in the real world, you can never turn them completely off. So if they are off like they are right now, that's a clear indication that there is something wrong in the electrical system. They should be, well, about this bright or something, which is almost full in the add-on. So that's most definitely a bug that we have in regards to those panels over here. And likewise, I have no clue why the ADF doesn't come on. So it looks like there is even one that's not tied to the brightness at all. That isn't working correctly. But in any case, this is something that we can already figure from some of the advice that you guys gave in the comments. Now, let's go ahead and start setting up. So the IRSs are going to come into nav. Then we can go into the EFB real quick here and go into the flight performance part. Mass and balance. So last time we were 100% full on the seats, and we had a cargo. Yeah, around about 10% should be fine. Okay, load an aircraft. And here we go. So, fuel. We are going to do a slightly different flight today, since last time we meant to fly to Munich, but on the 747 video we found out that the bridges don't work, so I suppose we are not going to go to Munich today. Instead, what we'll do is, let's go to pounds over here, and we'll just fill up the wing tanks a little bit, like that. Alright, load an aircraft please. And let's have a quick look down here. 5,300 kilos is just about perfect for a flight from Nuremberg to Salzburg. Now, that's our initial setup done down here. Let's go into the FMS and start doing a little bit of work down there. So 737-8.2, 28K engines, current database. Yeah, looks like the IRS has finished alignment. We might have set that to a little bit too fast. Alright, Echo Delta Delta November. Going to Lima Oscar Whiskey Sierra. And the flight number is just going to be Boeing 737, as this is just a small test flight. Alright, for the departures, we are leaving off runway 28 from Nuremberg. And I'm running my SimBrief off screen on my iPad over here, which does take a while to load. Okay, here we go. So, continuing via the Rhodes departure, so Rhodes 1 Golf route, next page. So, Lima 604 towards Lumsey. Direct to Martic for the Martic 2 Romeo arrival. So Martic arrivals. Unfortunately, it's runway 15 today, and not the beautiful circling. Nonetheless, Martic to Romeo, Salzburg transition, activate, execute. Okay then, onto the performance. We'll fly at a cost index of 30, the reserves are 2,000 kilos. We'll automatically import the zero fuel weight here, and the suggested cruise level is 260. SimBrief planned 270. Well, we don't really want to go higher than this, so let's make it 230, as 25 is not an available level. That's going to be fine. Transition altitude 5001, and the cruise wind is 313 at 59. And for a strange reason, it says invalid entry. No clue why, it really shouldn't, but we'll keep it at that. ISA deviation is -4. So that means we'll have an outside temperature of -35. Okay, execute that. And one limit, we are not going to set that just yet. Takeoff page, acceleration in 1000 above the ground. Like this. Okay, on the VNAV page we should have a 250 below 10,000 restriction. Like that. Lex page, 250 knot restriction at that waypoint. Winds, let's see if we can see the average over here. Yeah, this works. Should bring up the execute prompt, of course. But anyway, better than nothing. Okay. So that's our initial entries done over here. Let's just go for one more. That is going to be Nuremberg. And we want a 25-mile ring for the MSA. Perfect, and we'll just keep it at that for the time being. So then let's continue with our flight deck setup. The yaw damper is coming on. Net transfer display switch is normal auto. Fuel pumps are coming on. Let's test the crossfeed valve, which works just fine. Cabin utility, IFE, passenger seat switches coming on. Emergency exit lights armed. Fasten belts on. Attendant call button test. Window heats on, hydraulics on. So, we said we're cruising in flight level 230 today, so let's dial that up. And then we are going over to Salzburg. Let's go ahead and find a Salzburg chart so that we can do our... Oh, actually we don't need that, do we? Okay, so... search LOWS, Salzburg, elevation 14 and 10. So that's 1450 in there. Okay, let's move down. Traffic. For some reason I can't select that. It just blocks me out over here. And, well, look at that. Today we can actually select the QNH in hectopascals. That's something. By the way, talk about it. Let's make sure that live weather is enabled. Alright, we want the airport display, we want the VORs. Flight directors can come on. Like that. So, what is our actual QNH then? Weather 1026. Oh no, that's Salzburg. Let's make sure that we look at the correct airport here. So, Nuremberg. Weather 1024. Man, the QNH has risen rapidly over the last couple of days. So 1024 and 1024. Let's turn the brightness up a little bit here. Makes it visible a bit easier. So, light test switch. Here we go. And that is looking good. All those lights are working indeed. Okay, beautiful. Then let's continue down here. Fuel flow reset, auto brakes RTO. Hydraulic quantity is still showing too little, but I can't find any way to refill this. So we'll have to see what's gonna happen with this. This is of course one possibility for the crash we had after takeoff, but there was more involved than that, which we are going to go over in a few moments. In the meantime though, on the other hand side, we'll take the airports and that's it. Terrain? No, we don't want terrain. Okay, so 1 to 2.8 going active, 1 to 1.5 going active. Here we go. So VHF1 and VHF2 please. For some strange reason we can't really pull that in or out, but okay, we're just gonna leave it there then. We can just keep the standard VORs here for the time being. TCARs into above please, transponder standby, and that's it. Looks like the camera is broken. Did they mount another screen anywhere? No. Okay. Well, then it's broken. I can live with that. Alright, so that's our initial setup completed down here. Now, let's go ahead and have a quick look at our departure chart. So, that's going to be 28, RNAV sits runway 28. Give me that chart, please. Okay, and we are departing via the road is 1 Golf if I'm not completely mistaken. Let's have a look. So runway 28 and road is 1 Golf indeed. So let's check that out. We go straight ahead to Nuremberg or 1600, whichever is later. Then to Delta November 295, Delta, and then up northbound. So let's see, plan mode please. Then we have Delta November 282, 283, 286. Let's see. 282. Yeah, that seems accurate. 283, max 250 knots. And then 286. And that is accurate. Then it is a further right-hand turn to via 413 above 6,300 during activity of the night low flying system. Okay, so we can disregard those, and indeed the restriction is not even in here. And then we continue via Moose towards Rhodes. Initial climb is going to be flight level 70. Let's dial that in. And that's it. Okay, initial runway track 275. Like this. And the courses can go to 275 as well then. Small bug while I do notice it, the master switch is amber over there. It should be green, of course, since it's a normal condition that you've got a master selected. Okay, perfect. So except for the hydraulics, we are good to go for the time being. So then let's go ahead and do our takeoff performance. Let's see if we actually have it available down here. So flight performances, environment. So takeoff, runway, Nuremberg, 28, dry, we take the weather from the MEDA, and the flaps will be at 5. No available data. Okay, too bad. In any case, it's a 737 MAX, so if you go over here, weight is in, 62 tons, that's really not a lot, 20% derate, 30 degrees. That is a classical takeoff setting for the aircraft. So, flaps 5 will take the CG over here, so 4.25 units of trim. Remember that, guys, 4.25 units. If you go down here, the default is set to somewhere around 3. But as long as it is within the green band for takeoff, you are safe to go. Any of those settings will work. You might, of course, have some abnormal control forces, but any of those trim settings here will work for your takeoff. Okay, let's set 4.25 as indicated on the FMS. So V2 at 144. And here we go. Alright then, let's start the APU. The cabin should be considered ready already, so all we gotta do is wait for the APU to come online. Alright, in the meantime, I tend to say we can turn up the lights a little bit here. Come on, I know the switch is hidden somewhere back here. Here it is. So, main panel lights coming on, and we can do the same on the other end side there as well. Alright, looking good. So, you go to legs, please. And you become brighter. As far as it gets, okay. Alright, so. Then, a small comment here, while the APU is still starting, on some of the comments I got on the last video. People said the aircraft wasn't in trim and therefore it would have been impossible to fly. Now, that's not quite accurate for a couple of reasons. Now, first of all, as long as the trim is within the green band, the aircraft is safe to fly. And if the trim is outside the green band and we set takeoff thrust, you get this, the takeoff configuration warning. And we know that the system works because, as you can see, we can test it and it works just fine. So the takeoff config warning system monitors several things, such as the speed brakes, the flaps, the trim. And, well, if we would have been unsafe for takeoff on that last one, we would have gotten the warning. Which we know works, because we can test it over here. Now we can run a little test later on, where we are just going to mistrim the aircraft intentionally during taxi, with everything else correctly set, and then we can test if the takeoff config warning is actually working the way it is designed to work. So by now the APU is available. Let's put it on bus. And then all the ground power should already have been removed, so we'll just keep it at that, shall we? Okay, pin the departure chart. Let's also take the airport chart. And then we are good to go. Alright, so someone should ideally remove that ground power, but if we go outside we can see that there is nothing actually connected. So I tend to say let's go ahead and run the before start procedure. And then brake released, let's get the pushback. And that is master caution, air conditioning, dual bleed, that's expected. Clearing that one away. Okay. So they are connecting the tuck as we speak, and then we should be good to go for pushback at a moment's notice. And here we go, starting the pushback. Now the engine start does take a little while on the Mac, so as soon as we are beyond the red line I am going to start the procedure. I have no idea why the tuck is actually turning us anywhere. And most importantly I can't influence it. So, suppose we'll just have to live through this. Alright, engine 2 start. Well, not exactly the best push, but better safe than sorry. So pushback complete, set brakes, and the brakes are set. So motoring is in progress. Once the motoring is removed, we can add the fuel. Come on. You can do it. Can you? This motoring is taking a while. But I have that feeling the N2 is rather high already for the motoring. It should only go to like 24 or so. I have a feeling there might be... Oh, here we go. Very good. Because it is a little bit cold for the motoring to take that long, especially since the engine hasn't been run before. So 1 minute 30 for the motoring. With a hot engine, I would definitely expect something like that. But with a cold engine, I would expect it to go only 20 seconds. Okay, so that's a good start on engine 2. Let's start engine 1. Let's see how long this one is going to take, if it's going to be the same length, or if it is going to go any quicker. So, N2 is increasing. Let's wait for the motoring to start. Again, it might take a little while. Okay, motoring is over. Fuel is coming on. So this one's going a lot quicker. I'm not sure why there was a difference between the two engines. Unless they have just added some randomizer. Alright, and that looks like a good engine start to me. Here we go. Again, all the things that I said on the earlier video about the engine start, of course, still do apply. Okay. Flight controls. Full up. It's blocking out at the full down, but down is not the problem for us. We want to go up this time. Neutral. Full left, full right, neutral, and the rudders. Full left, full right, and neutral. So, again, do note, I have full flight control authority here. It's going all the way, where it up, only for down it's blocking out a bit. Alright, so this is the point where we would start the taxi. Now, let's go ahead and test the takeoff config warning system. I'm going to release the brakes here, and just apply the wheel brakes. No warning. Now let's test that trim. I am intentionally going to trim it out of bounds now. Let's test it again. Config warning. In other words, on the last attempt, where it crashed after takeoff, we were definitely within the allowable and safe range for takeoff trim. So, 4.25, isn't it? Yeah, 4.25, 4.25. Just to be entirely sure that it's not us. Alright. So, then let's go. Taxi holding point, runway 28. Again, the entire aircraft engine behavior here. At 36% N1, the max would absolutely shoot straight ahead. The engines behave very much like the CFM56. I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing a 737 NG first, and then someone at Microsoft decided, no, we gotta make it a max. And then they just copy and pasted the code. Because the plane behaves like an NG. Except for that little MCAS encounter on the last one. Right, what is that car doing up there? Come on, go away. Do we really need to avoid the car now? Unbelievable. In the real world, you'd do that once. And only once, as a car driver. Okay, now we gotta avoid the A380, which definitely does not fit onto here. And has a very strange winglet there. So I think we are somewhat clear to the left, so let's go over here. I'll just turn right on a mic 2 here and cut that corner for a bit. The good thing about the 737, the wings are definitely not as long as you'd think. I know, me lady, we say that a lot, huh? I think she wanted to tell me something with that look. There was definitely a message in that look. Alright, so another takeoff config check. Works. We are definitely correctly configured. Okay. So, cabin is ready. Let's get the heads-up display down. Only have one. Okay. I can live with that, as long as it is on my side. That HUD is strange. There's a lot of information missing there. A lot of information missing. But let's just keep it. Let's see what's gonna happen. So this turn is not really tight. Let's just take it like that. Okay, so line up runway 28. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. And we're clear on the approach. Yep, most definitely. And we are clear on the left as well. Alright, what could possibly go wrong? Weather radar. Okay, the recall is good. We'll do another config check once we're lined up. Wind is coming from the left at around 10 knots. That's fine, we can live with that. Okay, here we are. So, once again, to be absolutely on the sure side here, trim 4.25, and just, come on, just to be sure, if I delete this and reinsert it again, 32%, 4.25. We have 4.25 set. Okay, apart from that, config is good. Well then, let's go ahead and give it a go, shall we? Takeoff. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. What is that? Air conditioning, packs. Okay, well, disregarding those. 80 knots, checked. V1, rotate. Huh, and this time it's still needing a lot of control input. Positive climb, gear up. Okay, so look at where my yoke is now. Let's start trimming it out. Wow, that is a super effective trim. definitely not meant to fly like that. Okay, let's do a little bit of manual here. I want to see how the aircraft is gonna behave. So, flaps 1, speed checked. The trim is super effective here, it seems. Look at that, just slightest inputs and the plane really responds heavily to it. Look at that, I'm just turning the wheel like quarter of a notch and the airplane is starting to pitch. Well, that is not realistic. You would have to trim far longer for the airplane to react properly. But okay, let's go ahead and up to a higher level, and then we are gonna give it a couple tries. Okay, why is the master caution coming on again and again? Okay, Command A. And why is it trimming up when it wants to accelerate? Come on, airplane. You pitch down, please. So, recall. What do we have then? Bleed. Well, let's do a trip reset. Air conditioning auto fail. Was on for a moment there. Well, in terms of configuration, we are correct here. The bleeds are on, the packs are auto. Isolation of auto. Trim air is on. Okay, set standard. Set standard. I can't. Interesting. Come on, you piece of a plane. Well, hate to do it this way, but they haven't simulated the standard button, it seems. At least I can't click it. Okay, 1013. For now, cross-check, passing level 65 now. Checked. Okay. Alright, so let's do something about those bleeds. On the funny hand side, the aircraft seems to be pressurizing just fine. The differential pressure is building, even though it says the bleeds are off. Okay, well, let me drag out the iPad, where I should have that QRH on. Of course, this has not been prepared prior to the session, so give me a small moment here. 737. Okay, VNAV out. Let's just stay in level 90 for the time, just to be on the safe side here. Okay, bleed non-normal checklist, please. And your radio. So, condition: one or more of these occur. An engine bleed air overheat, an abnormal engine bleed air pressure, a bleed system fault or failure, an incorrect bleed configuration after takeoff or go-around. And that's associated with the bleed light, which just went off. Okay. Well, bleed non-normal checklist complete. Ain't gonna complain about that, huh? Alright, then let's continue our climb. Or actually, I tell you what, while we are in 90 over here, let's disengage the autopilot. And as soon as we're out of the turn, let's go ahead and experiment a little bit with the trim, see what's going to happen. So, in the real world, you really need to trim for a pretty long time in order for the aircraft to... Whoa, it's overreacting already before I haven't even stopped talking. In the real world, you need to trim for a really long time in order for the aircraft to get out of bounds. Now, we are currently at around 6 units. Let's trim it forward and see how far we can hold it. Okay, let's trim it forward even further. Okay, this is 3 units now. This is where we were at on the other video. And look at that, I'm full aft controls, the nose always coming down. Right, gotta trim it back up. So yeah, it was the trim. However, the trim is unrealistically effective on this add-on. That's the reason why we lost control on the other one. Okay, let's bring it back into a steady flight here. You can see I'm having some issues because the trim is just so super effective. Well, here we go. Okay. Autopilot on. Let's go ahead and continue the climb. So, altitude intervent, please. And then let's go up to flight level 230. Alright. So, if we could now find the standard switches so that we don't have the amber QNH indication, that would be tremendous. Passing 10,000. Alright, that's looking good. The aircraft is pressurizing, even though not as fast as I would think, but we might have interrupted the pressurization schedule here by leveling off, so let's not worry about that too much. Seatbelts off, recoil. Still looks like... oh, master caution air conditioning. And here the bleeds are again. Okay. Well, bleed non-normal checklist, my radio. So we already read the condition statement, we know what it's associated with. So choose one. Both bleed lights are illuminated or a single bleed light is illuminated. And it is both of them. So go to step 2. Bleed 2 air switch off. Sorry, on. No, wrong button. Bleed 2 air switch on. APU bleed air switch off. Off. Caution, allow cabin rate to stabilize before placing bleed air 1 switch to on. Okay, the cabin rate is stable. So, bleed 1 air switch on. And it is on. Isolation valve switch, auto. Auto. And that's the bleed non-normal checklist completed. So literally all it does was to tell us to configure the air conditioning system. And that's it. So, going from here, from this part of the checklist, Boeing assumes that with both bleed lights illuminated at the same time, it cannot be a bleed air fault. However, remember, the 737 MAX is going to illuminate both bleed airs at the same time if you didn't configure the air conditioning system correctly after takeoff. But if we look at this, it is correctly configured. That's what we've just done on the checklist. So, they say bleed 2 switch on, APU bleed air switch off, bleed 1 air switch on. And that is what we've done. So it is correctly configured, and we still get the warning. Now, I really don't know what to say about this. This is all the checklist has. They don't assume that both bleeds might fail, but let's be honest over here. Since the air conditioning is increasing normally, but I have no idea why the needle is fluctuating so much. It absolutely shouldn't. Yeah. I think we can safely put this down as a bug. Has to be. It simply has to be one. There is no logical explanation for this happening. Alright, well, so, with that problem now aside, we did determine what the cause for the previous crash was. Obviously, I did forget to trim the aircraft. It was meant to be at 5.25, I left it at 3, but that was within the safe range for takeoff. You can even see that on the panel here. You've got the green range and it says takeoff next to it. We didn't get a config warning, so we know it was within the safe range, and what actually caused the crash was the fact that the trim is just completely out of the box, super effective in this aircraft. And that's it. It should have been flyable, but, well, it wasn't. So, I suppose we are just gonna leave it at that. There really isn't much more to say about it. In any case, here is something that we can do, and that is take a little shortcut. So, let's go direct to, well, down here. Direct Sierra Bravo Golf, because why not? And execute. LNAV available, LNAV. So, something you are going to notice about the 737 MAX is it really doesn't climb as well as the NG does. Rate of climb, 1,400 feet a minute over here, absolutely normal. The NG would probably give us something about 2,000 feet a minute. Of course, we still have the climb derate in, but there is nothing wrong with that. Just for the sake of it. Let's try and see what happens if I remove it. Let's go full thrust. 6% more N1. Let's see what kind of rate of climb we are going to develop eventually. Just over 2,000. Okay. In any case, normally you just keep the derate in, as it just saves you a little bit of maintenance cost. Alright, so that much about this part of the flight. Let's see if we can get that head-up display to look a little bit nicer. Suppose we gotta turn it up manually. Well, this is probably a little bit better, even though it's still really hard to see through it, but that's better. Okay then, so we are rather close to the top of descent. Let's go ahead and start to grab some of the charts. So we are landing at Salzburg, charts, and we are going right onto the final. So approaches 1.5, ILS approach. Quick look at the weather conditions as well. 160 at 5, few clouds 5,000, 4 degrees 1026. Okay, that is rather flyable. Straight in approach runway 15. So we have the ILS and we have the ground chart and parking chart as well. And here we go. So, flying on to the final approach via Sierra Bravo Golf, which is where we are headed already. Then a quick look down here into the FMS. Speed restriction, why is there nothing in there? That should always be there. So 250 below 100. Forecast, transition level. Let's see, the transition altitude is 10,000. QNH is above 1013, so we're looking at 110 as transition level. So 1000 to go. Vertical speed. Pitching very rapidly here. That would not feel comfortable for our guests. Do we have a master caution again? No. I could swear this would have been on for a moment. Anyway. If it goes out again, then the problem's fixed itself, so I'm not gonna complain. Okay, we have a good amount of tailwind here, so let's just go ahead and enter that in our flight plan. So, level 200, level 100... And the wind in 200 is 317 at 21. And the wind at level 100 or 10,000 is 278 at 23. Here we go. So runway 15 for the landing. Not in database. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Flex. Runway 15. Copy. Okay, that's a bug. It should absolutely be able to take that runway waypoint. Well then, Salzburg, 10 miles and 4 miles. And 3 times cruising altitude is 69 miles. Alright, burning 100 kilos. Not correct. Definitely not correct. Look at how the ring is turning. It shouldn't do that. It absolutely shouldn't. Okay, well, let's take the present gross weight. We'll be fine. So flaps 30. Auto brakes, we'll just dial in 3, and the ILS frequency is 109.1. Sorry, 109.9. So, course is 153. Here we go. And let's do that another time over here. 153. Perfect. Alright. And the top of descent is gone. Why? We haven't overflown it yet, otherwise we would get a VNAV profile. What's it doing? Let's try direct Sierra Bravo Golf again. Execute. That should recompute the entire VNAV. Reset MCP alt. Well, let's just do it. Let's see what's gonna happen. We should overfly the TD just around now. Master caution. It's the bleeds again. No. Right, looks like it doesn't want to start the descent. I'm really not sure why. Well, level change. Then we do it ourselves. Okay, well, that's kind of fine for me as well, because why not, huh? Otherwise things would be boring if VNAV worked. Now the only question... No, we really cannot set standard anywhere here. I have no clue what this is. Huh. Well, so be it. Then we gotta live without it. Now look at that. It's calling us a retard, even though the thrust levers are in idle already. Now it's going to arm, but the thrust was in idle for a long time before it went to arm. No idea why it did that again. The only thing I can tell you is that it shouldn't. It's only reading retard as long as the thrust levers are actually coming back. Now answer me another question though. Why are they slowly increasing? Let's manually put them to idle. %. That is pretty little for that high altitude. Don't they simulate flight idle? Now look at that. Saying retard and increasing the thrust. I have a feeling they attempt to set the flight idle by moving the thrust levers. That's of course not what should happen. The thrust levers should be at the backstop, and the electronic engine control would increase the thrust to flight idle like that. Because now we have no way of knowing whether this is flight idle or whether this is some random bug that's just setting our altitude incorrectly. Sometimes I love those default aircraft. VSD? No? Okay. Would have been useful flying towards the mountains. But so be it. So, let's see. We have a remaining distance of 48 miles to the airport and 17,000 right now. That probably puts us a little bit high. And answer me another question. We have level change selected. The speed window is open at 273 knots. Why is it flying faster? It's maintaining 0.63, but it shouldn't. Oh, look at that. Now it responds. Now it's saying retard again. This time at least moving them into the correct direction. Strange behavior. Okay, well, in any case, you just maintain that speed, please. 300 knots is good. Okay, speed brakes. Look at that. Oh! The lower pitch limit is 5 degrees. on the 737 in level change or VNAV. In vertical speed, -10. Definitely not -10, and come on. 7,500 feet a minute with the speed brakes? You got to be kidding. The speed brakes are super ineffective on the real aircraft. What on earth have they done here? Those controls are completely messed up. In any case, we are no longer above the profile. So, not realistic, but hey. Right, 5 degrees, engine anti-ice on. Ladies and gentlemen, those passengers of you who have not been thrown among the ceiling yet, please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelt. Those of you stuck in the ceiling, please make sure that you are stuck properly so that you can not dislodge during the upcoming landing. Thank you very much for your attention. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. Alright, let's go down then. 4,000 is going to be our platform altitude. So 4,000 into the system, and well, let's use some gentle speed brake here. No clue why we've got an execute button. Come on, airplane, you gotta be kidding me. 3,000 feet a minute and descending. That's not a 737. Maybe a fighter jet or something. So, vertical speed. Why is the execute light on again? Is it opening the execute every single time we adjust the MCP speed? Is that what it's doing? And why is it still targeting a Mach number here while we... Oh god, this is so buggy. Erase. 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 Execute? Oh, come on. This is a joke, right? Someone is trying to fool me. Didn't they call this the best study level add-on that Asobo have produced yet? Might be true for Asobo, but looking at the default aircraft in the sim, just look at the InniBuild Airbuses. They are 1,000 times better than this. And come on, why is the speed increasing again? 250, no more, please. But apparently it's just trying to maintain a Mach number. This is so buggy. This is frustrating, this is really frustrating. Set QNH. Come on. QNH 1026 cross-check passing 6,900. Now. Checked. Speed target increasing again. Boy, this gotta be a joke, right? ILS frequencies 109.9, but we are not receiving anything. The plane is pitching into Nirvana. I mean... yeah, I can understand why they make a 737 MAX go pitch down, but come on. The autopilot is on, that disables MCAS. So 109.9 is the correct frequency, but we aren't receiving anything. And again, the speed target is increasing. What on earth are they doing here? Now look at that, I'm dialing the speed down, but it gets stuck at 0.4, because that is the minimum Mach number you can command the aircraft to maintain. So don't tell me that it is not going to decrease the speed any further. Don't tell me we have to disconnect the autothrust now. Yeah, look at that. Congratulations, Asobo. This is amazing. The most in-depth study level simulation ever. Okay, Warlock capture, because why not? Okay, tell you what. We have the auto throttle disconnect switch. Can't find it? Okay, then I do it this way. Now, why doesn't the light come up? This is incredible. So please, get that speed down, now. So, 1.5 miles to the ILS intercept. We are still rather fast. Let's go flaps 1. And flaps 5. That is far too much drag right now. It really shouldn't decelerate that well. Glide stop capture. Go around altitudes. 6,000 set. So 136 is a VREF, then let's go down to 141. Even though this probably just serves as a reminder up there. Better than nothing. Right, gear down, flaps 15. And what is it trying to execute there again? I don't know. Makes no sense. Okay, flaps 30. Speed brakes armed. Lights are on, signs are on, perfect. Oh, manual thrust please. So, 141, that's roughly what we should need. As far as I recall the pitch power values on the max, it should be roughly 50% N1 on the final. Let's go ahead and set that. Here we go. But we are losing airspeed, so let's increase that a little bit. A little bit more. Okay, here we are again. CFM56 engines, not CFM LEAP 1B. The pitch power settings correspond exactly to the CFM56. We need gross weight minus 4. And if you look at this, gross weight 61, so 57% N1 would be the power setting on the CFM56. I have no clue why, but internally this aircraft is totally behaving, or at least the engines, like CFM56 engines. Which is of course far from realistic. I don't know what they've done. Copied the wrong model? Copied the wrong flight model into this? The pitch is too high as well. We should be looking at around 0.5 degrees. We're sitting here at around, yeah, 2. Disregard the glide slope.
Approaching minimums.
Checked.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, speed brake up, thrust reverse normal. Now. Why is it adding power straight away? Oh well, I don't want to know. Okay, manual brakes. Let's make that exit. Is this maximum manual? You gotta be kidding me. The plane should be able to do a lot more than that. Okay, well, so here we are. Now let's do the after landing stuff already. Why is my auto brake off? It was definitely operating earlier. I haven't touched that yet. Right, let's keep those lights for the time being. APU start. Well, that was an interesting flight. Sure enough, there is a lot wrong with the 737 MAX. We found out what went wrong on the last one, but it doesn't explain anything of what's been going on this time. So, I really think when Asobo announced that this would be the most in-depth study-level simulation they've done yet on the last FS Expo, they were rather wrong, let's put it that way, to stay friendly. Because, let's face it, this is nowhere near high fidelity. Nowhere near even. Well, what kind of level is this? Something that I would have expected from the Aerosoft Airbus, to be honest. Which turned out a lot worse. But yeah, for the time being, I read one interesting post which I'm just going to recite over here, which someone made under my first 737 video, or my first 737 MAX FS24 video. And that is, when people say that this aircraft, or that when people say you shouldn't buy the iFly 737 MAX because this one will blow it out of the water, then those people have been right. The iFly will blow, or this one will blow the iFly out of the water, but that is only if you mount some floats under the iFly, put it into the water, and this one crashes into it from above. And I think that's probably the only verdict we can leave here. The trim is so incredibly over-effective that you just can't trim the aircraft out at all. We've seen that even though you are in the safe ranges for takeoff, the plane is unflyable. And, well, it would be interesting to do some tests now to see how much out of trim you need to be from the target in order for the aircraft just to become unflyable. I mean, we've just seen that at 3 units, there was no way we could hold the nose up, even at maximum elevator input. And if there is one comment I can make on this, then it is that with the background story of the 737 MAX, I really think it is inappropriate to leave a bug like this not addressed for any period of time. This should be super high priority to fix, because a MAX that is unflyable in a way that it just plummets down to the ground, come on, I'm sure you've got some contracts with Boeing that say you shouldn't represent the airplane in that kind of manner. Oh well, for the time being though, we made it to the gate, we're still alive, even though the passengers might be a little bit shaken. Why is there ground power immediately available? And why does turning the ground power on not illuminate the APU gem of bus light? Suppose I don't want to know. Alright then, milady, let's get out here. Let's get back into a proper aircraft. Thank you so much for flying along, everyone. I do hope that you have enjoyed what we had to offer today. Certainly a couple of very interesting conclusions we could draw from this, and we are definitely going to try and learn from that. In any case, I do think that at the moment we should stick to the INI-built Airbuses in the FS24 and rather ignore those Boeing aircraft. However, the 747 is still much better than the 737, so there's always that. Alright, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I sure hope that you found this one interesting. Leave your feedback in the comments below, and as always, if you're up for more, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.